What's up, Shadow Army? Welcome back to Otakuact. So the episode opens with something that nobody, and I mean nobody, could have prepared for. Picture this. Onlookers were left completely speechless, struggling to comprehend the sight before them. Thomas Andre, one of the world's most powerful national-level hunters, lay broken on the ground, a symbol of overwhelming strength reduced to a battered figure. Can you imagine? The image was especially jarring for Adam, and honestly, it was jarring for all of us watching too. Adam's internal monologue hit so hard. How many hunters in the world could defeat Thomas Andre? Was there ever anyone who could to begin with? In all his years working for the Bureau, he had never seen anyone even come close. And now, watching the impossible unfold, the truth struck him like a thunderbolt. And here's the thing that's going to shake the entire world. Once news of Thomas's defeat spreads, it's going to shake the entire world to its core. The ripple effects of this are going to be insane. But wait, it gets more intense. Adam snapped back to reality and wasted no time calling for the healers. One of the highest ranking among them rushed to Thomas's side, checking his vitals before immediately casting healing magic. His expression darkened as he assessed the damage. And guys, when I tell you Thomas's body was wrecked beyond belief, I mean beyond belief. Every bone shattered, blood flowing freely, his life hanging by a thread. The healer realized his magic alone wouldn't be enough and called out to the others. While the healers focused on their life or death struggle, Hunter Command Center staff swarmed the ruins of the factory, evacuating the wounded and surveying the damage. In the midst of all this chaos, Adam stood quietly, watching it all unfold with a heavy heart. He reassured himself that given the way things could have gone, this might have been the best possible outcome. But the devastation, the raw brutality of the battle, couldn't be ignored. Then an officer ran toward him, snapping him out of his thoughts. The man's face was pale and his voice was grim as he reported the worst of it. S-rank hunter Hang Dong-soo wasn't breathing. That hit me right in the feels, guys. The cost of this battle. But here's where it gets really atmospheric. Far from the wreckage, seated silently atop a tall building overlooking the Korean skyline, Jin Woo watched the city beneath him. He had used Shadow Exchange to return, swapping places with Baru, who remained behind in America to heal Jinho to the best of his abilities. As his mind wandered through the echoes of battle, a deep, unfamiliar voice broke the silence, respectfully addressing him as king. Jin Woo turned his gaze toward the source and found a towering shadow soldier kneeling before him, the energy radiating off him, marking him as a knightly commander. With his head bowed, the soldier humbly asked for a name. Jin Woo studied him for a moment, remembering the greed that had consumed the man in his final moments, and settled on the name Greed, thinking it suited him well. As his gaze fixed on the familiar face beneath the shadows, he asked flatly whether Hwang Dong-soo liked his new name or not. The once proud S-rank hunter, now reborn as a part of the Shadow Army, bowed deeper and gave thanks for the name. Jin Woo's expression didn't change. He simply told him to return his head to the ground, bringing the conversation to a close. With that, he looked back over the cityscape of Korea. The battle was over, but the war, he knew, was only beginning. The next day in the United States, the International Guild Conference finally commenced as Jin Woo arrived at the prestigious venue, escorted by the Deputy Director of the Hunter Bureau. Reporters swarmed the entrance, cameras flashing in rapid bursts. Jin Woo, clearly confused by the attention, asked about the commotion. The Deputy Director explained that the public had somehow caught wind of the fierce battle between him and Thomas Andre, and from this point on it would be impossible to avoid the spotlight. He was now the central figure of the entire conference. He also reassured Jin Woo that the testimony from Dong-soo's party had clarified the incident, and the truth would eventually surface with no blame falling on his shoulders. But Jin Woo wasn't focused on Dong-gu anymore. The chaos and speculation didn't concern him. His purpose for coming to America was clear. Once his questions were answered, he had no intention of staying. When they arrived at the conference building, the deputy handed him an earpiece, assuring Jin Woo that he'd translate the presentation throughout the event. As Jin Woo stepped inside, the air shifted. Conversations died out and all eyes turned toward him. Some of the hunters and officials studied him with curiosity, others with doubt. But a heavy mix of awe and unease hung in the air as they tried to grasp the power of the man who had just walked in. Whispers rose as Jin Woo made his way down the steps. Speculations buzzed from every corner about the man who had defeated the indomitable Thomas Andre. Some recalled his feat of clearing the S-rank gate in Tokyo, while others simply tried to make sense of his presence. Jin Woo ignored the murmurs and calmly took his seat as the conference began. A speaker stepped onto the stage and introduced himself as Dr. Belzer, before diving straight into the topic that had brought the world's top hunters and officials together. He stated that the number of gates appearing worldwide had surged, and with them more powerful monsters had begun to emerge. Yet something else had occurred, an unusual activity detected high above the skies. Dr. Belzer explained that the magical energy concentration in the atmosphere had been increasing dramatically, a phenomenon they had named the magisphere. Behind him, a world map lit up the screen, pinpointing the regions where this energy was densest. There were 9 major hotspots scattered across the globe, but one location stood out above the rest: South Korea. The moment Dr. Belzer mentioned it, all eyes shifted toward Jin Woo again. Murmurs grew louder and tension rippled through the crowd. Still, Dr. Belzer attempted to ease their nerves, stating that if Jin Woo were indeed the cause of this phenomenon, then he would be far beyond the scope of any ordinary hunter. Jin Woo remained still, lost in thought. The number of locations matched the number of monarchs. Could this be connected? Dr. Belzer admitted that they still didn't know what caused the magisphere, nor how to stop it. But whatever was coming, it would bring significant change to the world. They had to prepare. As the presentation wrapped up, the Bureau's director, David Brennan, took the stage for a pressing announcement. His voice was low and heavy with the weight of the news. Christopher Reed had been assassinated by a group of unknown assailants. The crowd fell into stunned silence. The idea that a hunter of Christopher's caliber could be killed sent a chill through the room. Speculation flared instantly. Who could possibly do this? More eyes turned toward Jin Woo, whispers connecting the dots between Thomas Andre's defeat and Christopher's death. Jin Woo remained impassive as David raised a hand to calm the speculation, urging the audience not to jump to conclusions. The Bureau had already identified a suspect, he announced. Jin Woo's gaze sharpened as an image flickered to life on the screen behind David. The man identified as Suspect S was believed to be responsible for the murder of Christopher Reed. The audience stared at the image, confused. It wasn't Jin Woo, but the resemblance was uncanny, too close, too precise. Meanwhile, Jin Woo clenched his jaw in frustration, questioning his father's motives. As his thoughts raced, he recalled something crucial. Dungeons were the domain of the rulers, a fact now tangled with his father's sudden reappearance. He remembered what Kamish had told him about 4 humans who had once borrowed the ruler's strength. The words echoed in his mind as he pondered the possibility. Why would a ruler send someone who looked like his father? Could this truly be connected to what Kamish had said? David pressed on, revealing that the suspect had been caught on camera months ago during a devastating incident with Hang Dong-soo that reduced an entire section of the Bureau's headquarters to flames. Footage began playing on screen. Suspect S stood over Dong-soo's unconscious form. Jin Woo's soldier, Greed, gave him a silent confirmation. There was no doubt. The man in the footage was his father. David explained that the association would request the aid of all guilds to locate and apprehend the suspect. If any sightings occurred, they were to be reported immediately. The questions came flooding in. One hunter asked whether there was proof that Suspect S wasn't human. David confirmed that his magical signature matched that of a monster. Then came a delicate question. Why wasn't the identity of Suspect S being shared with the public? David paused before answering. The suspect, he said, was connected to one of the hunters in the room. For now, the association had decided to keep his identity confidential. A hand went up from the back row. Lu Zhigong, China's 7-star hunter and a national-level powerhouse, stood and asked directly what was the nature of Suspect S' connection to hunter son Jin Woo. David hesitated. Then finally he said it. He revealed that during the interrogation, Suspect S had claimed to be Jin Woo's father. The Bureau had no reason to doubt the claim and was treating the investigation accordingly. The room erupted in gasps. Shock rolled through the audience in waves. Liu Jiagong turned to Jin Woo and asked the question everyone else was afraid to voice. If Suspect S truly was his father, what would Jin Woo do if the world's hunters tried to bring him down? Jin Woo's answer came without hesitation. He calmly replied that if Suspect S truly was a monster, then it was only natural for hunters to hunt monsters. And if that were the case, he would personally take him down himself. But if the suspect was truly his father and not a monster, then Jin Woo, eyes cold and burning with silent menace, made his vow clear. He would protect his family and wouldn't hesitate to hunt down those hunters, even if it meant becoming the enemy of every single one in the world. As the International Guild Conference drew to a close, Jin Woo stepped out of the building, only to be greeted by Adam White waiting outside. With a slightly cautious tone, Adam asked if Jin Woo had truly meant what he said back in the meeting. Without a hint of hesitation, Jin Woo nodded and confirmed he did. Adam let out a soft chuckle, half in awe and half in disbelief, and remarked that there were only 2 hunters in the entire world who would dare to say something like that in front of so many powerful hunters. With a faintly embarrassed smile, Adam gestured vaguely and said the other person was currently lying in a hospital bed. Jin Woo immediately understood the image of a broken but defiant Thomas Andre flashing in his mind. Trying to shift the mood, Adam suggested Jin Woo join the banquet hosted by the Hunters Association. But Jin Woo's attention drifted as he noticed a presence approaching. The heavy commanding aura of Liu Jiagong, accompanied by a small group of subordinates. The atmosphere instantly shifted. Conversations died down and every eye in the vicinity turned to the approaching Chinese hunter. Liu stepped forward and said something in Mandarin, his tone calm but resolute. Jin Woo turned slightly, his expression calm, and asked Adam what the man had said. Adam listened for a moment, and then explained that Liu claimed to have caught a giant monster on the coast of China, one that Jin Woo had supposedly allowed to escape. Jin Woo remained silent as Liu continued speaking. Adam translated as fast as he could, explaining that Liu had been caught off guard by the monster's power. The battle had been especially difficult, taking place on the open sea. Liu had always wondered what kind of hunter could deal with such monsters so easily. And now, standing in front of Jin Woo, he finally had his answer. Then Liu extended a hand, offering a firm handshake. He said he had wanted to meet Jin Woo for a while now. He added that he was glad Thomas Andre had been put in his place, and he had no doubt Thomas had been in the wrong. Jin Woo looked at him with new eyes. His initial impression had been that Liu Jiagong was just a grumpy man with a stiff attitude, but now, listening to his words, he found him far more intriguing. The 2 hunters shook hands firmly. Just as Liu was about to leave, he paused and uttered one last sentence in Mandarin. Adam's eyes narrowed slightly as he translated, his voice just a little more hushed. Liu had said he hoped Suspect S wasn't someone related to Jin Woo's family. Once again, silence fell around them. The air grew heavy under the weight of that final remark, as Liu Jiagong and his team quietly left the event behind. Adam reassured Jin Woo that Liu Jiagong didn't seem to harbor any ill intent, adding that the Chinese hunter had even said he never wanted to fight him. Jin Woo remained calm, nodding slightly and replied that it was all right, showing no trace of concern. Moments later, David Brennan entered the room and gestured for Jin Woo to follow him. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more solo leveling content. Until next time, keep leveling up.